Hello, my name is Mary Jo, and I've been asked to talk about whether I'm a Christian or not. Now, my usual response when somebody asks me if I'm a Christian is to say, "Oi, who wants to know?" Not because I would have a dishonest answer for different people, but because I would answer it differently depending upon who's asking. If it's someone from right outside the Christian world, I would say, yes, I am a Christian. I was born in a Christian family, I was baptized and confirmed, and all of my spiritual seekings, which I've done all my life, have been within the Judeo-Christian tradition, within the Christian camp. So yes, to someone from outside, I am a Christian. On the other hand, if it's somebody from another Christian denomination who is asking me that, I would have to be much more circumspect in my answer, because although I might consider myself to be a Christian, they may well not think that I am. And the reason for this is a basic difference in understanding of Jesus, and because all we know about Jesus is in the New Testament, an understanding of the Bible. Now, in the church I was brought up in, the Bible was taken very literally. Jesus was born of a virgin. That means there was no sexual activity in his conception. His miracles were real. He was on a lake, and it was full of water, and he walked on top of it. And he went along to a corpse which had been dead for some time, and he raised it from the dead, and so forth. He turned bottles of water, a glass of water, into wine. He was crucified and died for my sins mysteriously. I could never understand that. And he rose from the dead after 3 days as a corpse, and then he went into heaven bodily. He went up into the clouds into heaven. And you believed this, and you had to say you believed it, and if you didn't, you were going to hell. The description of hell was graphic. It was not good. You did not want to go there. So I had great difficulties with this, as a lot of Quakers have who've come from other churches. And I was very fortunate in about 45 years ago now, falling amongst Quakers. And it was a wonderful thing, because I could follow my religious feelings, my followings of God, although I probably wouldn't have called it that at this time. What the Quakers call, in this lovely little book, The Advices and Queries, the first chapter of Quaker Faith and Practice, which is a sort of maintenance manual for friends, it says, "Take heed, dear friends, to the promptings of love and truth in your hearts. Trust them as the leadings of God, whose light shows us our darkness and brings us to new life." So I could follow those promptings in all honesty and pursue my religious path without hypocrisy, which was very important to me. And so I started to read. I discovered there were over 150 years of biblical scholarship, which I can't really cover in 30 seconds. But suffice it to say, there was a big gap in time before the Gospels were written. There are different manuscript versions of it. A lot of the Hebrew words are not even known for their meaning nowadays. Bits keep being found, and scholars are gradually coming to a better understanding of what has been added on later and what might have actually really been said about Jesus and about his life. And so I started looking at Jesus the man and what he might have said in his teachings. And what did I find? I found a rough person from Nazareth, from Galilee, who was born in Galilee, unfortunately not in Bethlehem, according to the hymns, and who was an itinerant preacher with a very strong message, a charismatic man who gathered around him a sort of motley crew of followers who were convinced also of his way of approaching God and his new approach, which was anti-establishment, which was radical, and which we still feel is contemporary nowadays. What did he do? He befriended the friendless. He consorted with prostitutes, with tax collectors who were the lowest of the low, with Samaritans. The woman who was taken in adultery, he said she should not be stoned to death, and generally had a radical new look at approaching God, a God of love, a God of compassion. And I am terribly moved and led by his commandment. When he was asked what the commandments were, he said, "Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart and all thy soul and all thy mind, and love thy neighbor as thyself." And that to me is a religious path to go on.